Welcome to the land of greatness. So, I am here to share with you the basics of a trust. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions, so hopefully at the end of this, those questions will be answered. Now, let's get into it. What we're going to talk about is what is a trust, the relationships within a trust, the types of trust, funding a trust, and then choosing a trustee. All of these things are very important when trying to get a trust. So let's get into the business. So, what is a trust? A trust is a relationship, a legal relationship, or an agreement that exists between someone who creates it and then another organization or person who manages it. So, simply put, what that means is the trust is a separate entity, right? So, when you look at the dynamics of Robert Simmons is an entity. When you look at LLCs, S corps, these are separate entities and not involving business, which of course you can't have a business trust, but the trust is set up the same way. It is a separate entity. You can also have some types of trusts that have entity numbers. So when we talk about entity numbers, we talk like social security numbers, TINs, EINs. You can have a separate entity number for that. So when you are buying a house or buying a car, you can put it in the trust name the same way you can put it in your name. So the relationships of a trust, there are three key roles in a trust. You have a grantor, you have a trustee, and then you have a beneficiary. Also note that a grantor is also known as a trustor. So the grantor is the person who creates the trust and then transfers the property. So that's you if you're purchasing a trust, or it could be, your family estate. If you're trying to purchase something that is for your whole family, then you do that under a trust. The trustee is the person or the entity responsible for managing the trust assets. This means that once you create a trust, then there is going to be a person or trustee who will basically distribute out the information. If you pass away, they are responsible for ensuring that everything in your will is distributed in this trust the way you set forth. And if the trust is to roll over, to the next generation, then that will be outlined in when you're building the trust. And then you have the beneficiary. The beneficiary is specifically the people who are receiving the benefits from the trust, whether they're living or uh, passed away. So you always hear that trust fund, baby. Well, what happens is a family builds a trust, and then that trust says, hey, when this person turns 18, they get a specific amount of the assets in the trust. So you have types of trust. So there are several different types of trust. I did not list all of the types of trust on here, but I would highly recommend, because when you're doing a trust, the trust has to be done by a bar attorney, meaning that they are certified within their state to write a specific trust. So it has to be done by an attorney. And then that attorney will give you more guidance on the types of trust that you need. But there are several different types of trust. And we're just going to touch on a few of them, right? So you have a revocable trust, then you have an irrevocable trust, you have living trust, you have testimonial trust, testamentary trust, and then you have special needs trust, and you have charitable trust. So depending on your needs will define what type of trust that you need. So again, ensure that you reach out to a lawyer to definitely trim down the what you're trying to do with your trust. So, based off of what you see here, the top three trusts that most people use are revocable, irrevocable, and living trust. I will note that I believe since 2022 or 23, I can't recall, but revocable trust now gives you the ability to put a house under it without having to pay off the mortgage, which I think is a pretty cool thing that was input into the trust, but just a little gem to get you understanding, ways to use a trust. Now, funding a trust. There are several different types of ways that you fund a trust, and depending on your needs, this is how you would simply put money, or excuse me, assign assets to the trust. Now, these are the more common assets that are in trust. So you have real estate, bank accounts, investment accounts, and then personal property, right? This could be houses, cars, um, businesses. Now, I will mention that when you are putting a business in a trust, you don't want to, let me back out of that, because you can. If you want to, you can. But you should put your ownership stake in a trust and not the actual business, because the business itself is a separate entity. Again, because a trust provides protection for your assets and the people or the beneficiary, you want to ensure that you structure it properly, so that way you can have it be useful to what it is that you're trying to do. So again, consult the attorney on this one. I know a bunch of them that will help you out in any state. This is what I do. I am the liaison between you and greatness. So definitely tap in. All right. Choosing a trustee. So you choosing your trustee is very important, because their responsibility is to manage the trust assets and then ensure that the distributions get to your beneficiary. Now, the one thing that you want to consider is their experience, their ability to be reliable, and then also their willingness to serve. Now, 9 times out of 10, if you got a little money, you can ensure that your trustee is a lawyer or another responsible party who does this professionally, or it can be a line of people that you trust to ensure that the distributions of the trust will get to your beneficiaries in a reasonable amount of time and less stress. But ensure that they have these three things: some experience, reliability, and then definitely a willingness to serve. All right. So, coming to the end of this thing, really just to sum it up, is a trust is a very powerful tool. I know it says that, and I'm not going to freestyle, but you can read. um, the biggest thing that I want you to understand about a trust is it can be a very, very useful financial tool for your future, especially if you are into legacy building. I am head over heels with legacy building. If you know, I got 8 kids, and I want to ensure that all of my kids are taken care of. I have a number of assets, so I want to ensure that my assets have a great amount of protection, because this is protecting me from taxes, it's protecting me from probate, it's protecting me from lawsuits. I have a proper protection to pass down to my family, when my time is up, or when I see fit. If I want to retire and move to Jamaica or move out of the country, I have this American trust that I can leave to my beneficiaries. And you see things like that in living trust. So I hope you got a lot out of this information. And definitely, if you want more information on trust, come see me. You want to talk to a lawyer, come see me. I will put you in the right seat, because this is the land of greatness. Boom.